Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and in this video, we are going to make the best fat bomb ever. Now, it seems like every recipe out on YouTube says the best insert food item ever. Most of the time, not true, which is why I rarely claim that something I'm making is the best ever, but this is really pretty fantastic. There are a few things that make this chocolate-covered keto nut cluster thing pretty great. First off, it is infinitely customizable. At the end of the video, I'll talk about some of the potential substitutions and variations that you can make on it. But this is absolutely a recipe that you can totally make your own and customize to your heart's content. The other thing that I really like about this recipe is, unlike pretty much every fat bomb I think I've ever tried, these are stable at room temperature. Here's one, right here, room temperature. Not melting. So I don't know what more there is to say. Let's get to making these things. We'll start with 1/2 cup or 45 grams of sliced almonds. Then we have 1/2 cup or 55 grams of chopped pecans. 1/4 cup or 37 grams of shelled pumpkin seeds or pepitas. 1/2 cup or 40 grams of unsweetened shredded coconut. And finally, 1/4 cup or 32 grams of cashew pieces. We'll give this a little mix, and then we'll set it aside. Over medium heat, we will add 4 tablespoons or 60 grams of unsalted butter to a small saucepan. To this, we will add 1/2 cup or 115 grams of Bocha Sweet non-sugar sweetener. I'm going to proactively answer one of your substitution questions right now, and that is on the use of the Bocha Sweet. Bocha Sweet is not cheap, but it is, in my opinion, the best non-sugar sweetener out there. And I would rather pay a little bit more money for something that's going to taste great than to scrimp. And by scrimp, I mean using something like erythritol. So be that Swerve or Lakanto or some other brand. Erythritol does not behave well in this recipe because it has a tendency to recrystallize, and then it's sort of fragile. So you can't get chewy, you can't get crunchy, you just get kind of crystally blech. You could potentially substitute in allulose. I will warn you though that allulose caramelizes very quickly, which means you can go from our goal, which is sort of a chewy nut cluster where the nuts are the star, to something that's a little bit more like a brittle, and it has that brittle sort of taste as well. So if you want to use allulose, just be warned, that's a possibility. Next, we are going to add some chalk zero syrup. I'm using maple pecan here, but there are a number of different flavors you can use that are all good. And I will link down below in the description to the Chalk Zero website along with a coupon code for 10% off. Anyhow, we're going to add 1/4 cup or 60 ml of the chalk zero syrup of your choice. Bring our heat up to medium and whisk everything together as our butter melts. We want to be stirring pretty constantly because this will go to a rolling boil very fast, and at that point, say 5 to 10 seconds, we want to get that off the heat. We'll then pour this into our nut and coconut mixture and mix it thoroughly. Once we get done mixing, we're going to want to kind of pat it down just a little bit, and then we're going to let it sit for about 15 minutes. We're going to want to stir it though, probably every 3 to 5 minutes, just to make sure that it cools off. As it cools, that syrup is going to stiffen up. Now we're going to make our clusters, and I'm going to use a number 50 disher. This is going to give me exactly 24 clusters. Great for portion control. I'll include a link to that down in the description below. Look at that. Exactly 24 clusters. Now we're going to put this in the fridge for probably about an hour so that they can firm up. To make our chocolate, we're going to start with a double boiler. Then we're going to use a trick that I learned from my grandmother for making chocolate nice and firm at room temperature. We're going to use 1.5 ounces or 45 grams of food-grade paraffin. We're going to let this melt, and once melted, we're going to add 7 ounces or 200 grams of sugar-free chocolate chips. This is Chalk Zero here, but you can use any brand. It just so happens that Chalk Zero comes in a 7-ounce package. We'll stir it until it is completely smooth and there are no chunks. Then I like to peel off all of my clusters from my silicone mat. It just makes things a lot easier when it comes time to dunk them in the chocolate. We'll take each cluster and dab the bottom side into the chocolate and then return it to the silicone mat. And finally, we have one more magic ingredient, Maldon sea salt flakes. These things are fantastic, total flavor explosions. So as I apply the chocolate to each one of these, my wife is going to apply a little sprinkle of these Maldon sea salt flakes. These things are great on vegetables. Every kitchen should have some Maldon sea salt flakes. I made quite a mess here, but that's all right. I'm going to use my leftover chocolate just to give them one last coating. Make sure I use up as much of my chocolate as I can. Then we'll take our clusters and put them back in the fridge for about a half hour or so. Now this is the third time that I have made these in the past week, and the family has absolutely gone nuts for them. They just can't believe that it's keto. They taste so good. I'm telling you, those Maldon salt flakes take this to just a place that is magical. It is so, so good. Now, in terms of customization, there are a handful of things that you can do to enhance the flavor and appearance. First off, in terms of the nuts and coconut, substitute to your heart's content. Whatever nuts you want to use or not use, go ahead. You want to use walnuts? Go ahead. Macadamia nuts, sunflower seeds, make these your own. Next, in terms of the syrup, I have used the Chalk Zero vanilla. It was great. I've used the maple pecan, also great. I've used the maple. That's great. They also have a vanilla, is it vanilla maple or vanilla pecan? I'm not sure. I haven't tried that one yet. You can also use whatever you want for chips. I've done milk chocolate and dark chocolate so far, but you could do butterscotch, you could do white chocolate, totally your call. Additionally, you have some control over how gooey these nut clusters are based on how long you let it go once it starts to get to that rolling boil state. The sooner you pull it off, the chewier they're going to be. That also means the longer they will need to sit before you put the chocolate on. If you continue to let it go at a rolling boil while you're whisking for anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds, you're going to get a little bit more of that caramel flavor, also a little bit crunchier. And finally, you could take variations of this recipe to make candy bars. If you've got a silicone mold, you could make something pretty easily like an Almond Joy or a Mounds bar. So give this recipe a try, and afterwards, play with it, make it your own, experiment. I would love to hear down in the comments below some of the variations that you try out. So if you like this video, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber already, tap that subscribe button, then hit the bell to turn on all notifications. And finally, if you want to help out the Serious Keto Test Kitchen, click on that join button and see what memberships and perks are all about. Thanks for watching.